All right, so watch a couple videos. I went over reading one, and then you saw this long and maybe boring analysis of your reading by another person. It's pretty good. It's not the most colorful or exciting thing, but I think it was useful. I hope it was useful. And then I went over readings 2 and 3 briefly. And now Dr. Chatterjee is going to pass out your homework, if he hasn't already. And I'm just going to go over what you're going to do with your homework, and we'll talk about next week when we see each other in person. I'll be back Monday if anybody wants to send me an email, or you can text me. I'm probably, as you watch this, I'm in San Diego. If it's the morning class, well, I'm awake no matter what. I wake up very early, but hopefully I'm on the beach. Anyway, so when you're going through readings 2 and 3, please try to think about how the authors, how the researchers are applying the sociological imagination, and how they're looking at the big picture, and how they're looking at public issues in these personal troubles, right? So that's the entire question. With the sociological imagination, that is one of 2 things that we try to talk about in this class. The second are how the theories apply, and the sociological paradigms, the conflict theory, the functionalist theory, the symbolic interactionist theory. And then we talk about phenomena like deviance and families and race and things like that. But if you come away with anything from this class and the morning or the intro class, it's how to utilize your sociological imagination when you're working, if you're working in the healthcare, if you're going to be a nurse, how the sociological imagination applies in nursing. And it does, because you need to, when you see a patient, they're not just what happened to them immediately. They're the subject of their social environment. And their behaviors, their impressions, their activities, their belief systems are all shaped by society. So if there's an issue, if you're noticing a pattern with patients, there are greater sociological forces at work. And if you understand those, you're better able to care for your patients because you're able to understand their background and perhaps put yourself in their shoes, in their situation. So let's look at the homework that you've got. Now, I made a change. Those of you who had me last semester know that most of my homework is 250 to 300 words or 200 to 250 words. Did you all turn off your phones? Did you hear that? Okay. So, I'm going to make a change. I'm going to make a change in all my homework this semester, and I'm only going to require 150 words answers because I have a lot of classes and it's a lot to go through, and the biggest complaint I get, other than the fact that I'm just way too awesome for this whole entire planet, is that there's just too much writing. So I'm going to cut that down. Now I'm very nervous about cutting the writing back because I worry that you guys aren't going to get the necessary practice you need in writing so you're able to get through the written assignments in the nursing program, because they're very strict and they grade for APA style. And as of now, Dr. Brack does the APA grading for the nursing classes, I believe. And she's a tough APA grader. She knows APA style. I do not. I know a little bit about APA style. I know enough to wing it. But if you're looking for a perfect APA style person, that's not me. Online in all your classes, there's a guide and a video summary and links. And the Purdue OWL, OWL at Purdue University, provides some insight and resources. But if you really want some good APA tutelage, you could look at Dr. Brack or talk to Dr. Brack or ask me. So APA style for me is, when I talk about APA style, I'm thinking about the 4 big ones: Times New Roman, double space, 12-inch margin, or 1-inch margin, 12-point font, 12-inch margin. And the grammar, the punctuation, the clarity of the sentence, making sure it makes sense. You might know the answer. You might understand what the conflict theory might say about deviance and crime, but if you can't put it into words, if you can't express it accurately, if you can't make a full sentence, then that's APA style as far as I'm concerned. If you know the answer, but you're just unable to put it onto paper. So that's what the APA is for me. You just have to make sure you get it right. As I said in one of my first videos, my biggest recommendation is to please print out your homework and turn it into me, or I'm sorry, read it. Print it out and read it before you turn it into me. A side note about grading, if you look at the grading rubric, the grades that I've set up for these classes, I've put 15% of your grade is going to go toward attendance and participation. So what that means is all of you who are here right now are going to get a full credit in that column called attendance and participation. Every day that you're absent and every day that you're maybe here and are sitting in the back and not participating or you're not actively engaged, you're going to lose some points. If you're completely absent, you're going to lose a full point. There are 15 sections, week 1 through 15. So every day that you're not here, you're going to lose 1%. So the outcome of this is going to be at the end of your semester, if you've missed 3 classes, you will see whatever your grade was supposed to be drop by 3%. So if your grade was supposed to be a 92, without that attendance and participation requirement, if you miss 3 classes, your grade will be an 89. So that's the incentive to make sure you come to class. Otherwise, I'll be taking attendance, but that's the best way to ensure participation rather than any other methods I might try to use. So in all my classes, 15% of your grade is attendance and participation across the board. So being here is one thing. Being here, being attentive, sometimes participating, that will get you full points. That's 15% of your grade right there. If you always come to class, you'll be very pleased with that. If you plan on not coming to class very often, you'll be displeased with that. Okay, so let's look at your homework that you've got. So I've got 3 readings in your homework. I think I'm going to post this online. So, story 1. This is the story, this is relating to The Promise by C. Wright Mills. It's happened again at a high school student brought a gun to school and killed a dozen classmates as well as 2 teachers. It's the 4th time in the past couple of months that such a tragedy has occurred in this country. People shake their heads and wonder how such things can happen, what's wrong with these kids. Given what you learned from C. Wright Mills' account of the sociological imagination, what sorts of questions would a sociologist ask to gain an understanding of the phenomena of school shootings? So what are the questions using your sociological imagination that you might ask about the shooting, about the phenomena of school shootings, to get into the deeper perspective, to look at the social forces behind it? So this is 150 words. It's nice if you answer in complete sentences. That would help. That would probably help your APA style, help me understand it. But you could say, in order to gain understanding of the phenomena of school killings, I might ask the following questions, and you could just list the questions. You can do it essay style or however you want to do it, but please no more than about 150, maybe 200 words max. That's less than a half a page. You do not need to go into great detail. Just provide me some ideas about what questions you would ask that get into the sociological imagination. Don't ask specific questions. It's not, how old was the shooter? What kind of gun did the shooter use? Those aren't questions that look at bigger social forces at all, right? Those are questions that talk about the specific case. We aren't interested in specific cases. We're looking at larger social forces. Okay, so reading 2. And this is related to, what the heck's related to? There's no one else in this classroom. I'm in a different classroom, did you notice? Dr. Burke is having the microscope cleaned in that classroom over there. So good for you all. You'll have a clean microscope. Because I've been licking that thing all last semester. No. Okay, how history and sociology can help today's families. I was looking at some videos to show for that. I couldn't really find any, but it's really interesting about how the social dynamic of families and children has changed. But story 2, as a personnel director at Tiger Enterprises, you've noticed that employee turnover is really low. You suspect the root of the problem is the fact that management is sending conflicting messages to workers and placing impossible demands on them. The president of the company has a different view. She thinks the problem is personality clashes. And she has a plan. Let's rent some cabins in the woods and take everyone on a weekend retreat. We will tell everyone they're equal for the weekend. They should feel free to speak their minds. That way we can air our differences and solve our problems. Based on your understanding of situated social power, do you think a retreat would help? We talked about this in the last video. The idea of situated social power. That if you try to ignore the situated social power that certain groups have, it doesn't make anything better. If I tell you all as a group in a class, let's all hang out and go get a burger and treat me as an equal, you're not going to. In fact, it'll make things worse because you're always worried about how I'm going to see you. Are you going to call me Robert? Are you going to call me Gail? Are you still going to call me Professor Gail? I've got students who graduated years ago who call me Professor Gail, and I tell them they don't have to, but they feel uncomfortable calling me anything else because of the situated social power that's involved. So that's the question for story number 2. Story number 3, describe the kinds of questions that, according to C. Wright Mills, sociologists must ask if they are to complete their intellectual journeys. Then indicate in your judgment the degree to which McIntyre completed this intellectual journey with respect to Hernando Washington case. Sounds complex, but my question is, did McIntyre do a good job in her journey of social inquiry as it relates to the sociological imagination? Did she do a good job in exploring it? Did she miss anything? Did she miss out on anything? And were there any questions that she didn't ask that she could have? That's the question one should ask. Again, 150 words, no big deal. So you're gonna do those questions. That's your homework. It's going to be due next week in print, hard copy, when you come to class. Okay? I don't need a title page. I don't need page numbers. Hopefully it's one page, maybe double-sided. I don't need page numbers, I don't need a title page, I don't need running heads. I do need you to print it out and read it in advance. Please have a printed copy. Please don't assume that the LRC is going to be open and ready for you to come in 10 minutes before class and race to print it out. Oftentimes the LRC doesn't, the printers are no good. So plan on printing it out early, printing it at home. If you don't have a printer at home, send me an email and I'll let you know, or we'll see what we can do for you. Finally, next week when we come into class, first thing we're going to do is, I'll say hi. Then I'm going to collect everybody's homework, and then we're going to take a quiz. It's going to be a 10-question quiz based on these 3 readings, multiple choice, and we'll all take the quiz and we'll all grade it together. So that's how we'll flow. And then we're going to start talking next week about readings 4, 5, and 6. And I'll have homework for that. So that's just the nature of the class. It seems like a long time to talk about 3 readings, but we get into discussions. We don't necessarily go off topic, but we talk about other issues that relate to the readings that you might be concerned about. And I expect a robust discussion. Maybe not this week with Dr. Chatterjee, unless you want to, but next week we should have a good discussion on the readings that you just read, and we'll talk about the readings that we'll do for next week. If you have any questions, please send me an email. You have my email address in the syllabus, and I wrote it on the board on the earlier readings. Dr. Chatterjee can give it to you. My cell number is on there as well. You're welcome to text me if you have any questions. You can contact me through the online course. You should be accessing the online course by now. If you're not accessing the online course, you are going to lose points because I'm going to post things in the online course that you need to see. So if you cannot access all of your online courses, you need to see someone about that. There's a tech support that you can see. You can, at first step, maybe go talk to Tracy over in the LRC, and she can help you with that. I think that's it. Have a good weekend. If you have any questions, please let me know. And I hope you enjoyed your first week as a Brookline College nursing student. No, many of you are return students. Well, you're back. I don't care. All right, that's it. I'm going to reach here and turn it off. The hand of God. See, here we go.